Hi, welcome back to Let's Play Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And we've got a lot to do. So we've technically beaten the game with the normal ending, and now we're going to try to go for the best ending. And to do that, we need to uncover as much of the map as we can. You'll notice that I'm using this sword familiar right now. So I'm going to show off what the sword familiar can do. But first I'm gonna get unlock some map tiles. So this is gonna be kind of long, and I'm gonna show off some stuff, but I'm also going to try to explain how I feel about Metroidvania as a whole, and what I think about other Metroidvania games compared to this one. Because this one, I think this one's the best one out of all of them. My sword's being stupid, that's okay. So, the sword familiar has a special move that I'll demonstrate pretty soon. So you may have noticed my health is like off the charts now. That's because I did a lot of grinding. I got a lot of good items that I want to show off. So that's why I have such a high amount of HP. So we missed a few spots here. We've got to get 196% coverage of both maps. So we're on our way to getting that right now. So this was not the first Metroidvania game I've played. The first one I played was Circle of the Moon. And that one's supposed to be... Oh, there's a fish here. There we go. Alright, so I have equipment. I have some equipment for luck that I've had. So I guess I should probably explain what's going on here. So I got a bunch of weapons. Actually, let me go ahead and sort these. It's much easier if you can sort everything. So I'm just going to go with our favorite Crissaegrim for now. So I've taken the liberty of getting every single shield in the game. And it took a while to get it, but that's okay. So this Ring of Varda here... Oops. The Ring of... Where'd it go? Where's the Ring of Varda? There it is. So the Ring of Varda is like the most... So it has a... You notice that it says, Golden Ring to rule over all. It's a reference to the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. And you get it by defeating an enemy. But the thing is, it only gives it to you. It only drops the item if you've already beaten the game. So I've beaten the game, so now I'm able to get it. And I'll show off that enemy later on if I can. So we covered that area. So we have one more relic to get, and I'm gonna get that. But first, let me finish talking about the items. So you can... So the Ring of Varda is a rare drop from the one enemy in the game, and it gives you probably the hugest stat boost ever. Like, compare... This is the Noglamir, and it gives 15 defense. And it would give me only 3 extra defense, but look at the rest of my stats. So the Ring of Varda is ridiculous. So I'll be doing some crazy, immense damage right here. So the shields, I'll show the shields off in a bit. I'm doing ludicrousing on some damage right now. Anyway, so my first Castlevania game, I didn't really actually play any of the regular Castlevania games. I just played Metroidvanias, and I really liked Circle of the Moon. It was my first one, so that's the one on Game Boy Advance. It's the first Metroidvania game on Game Boy Advance. And it's one of the hardest of the Metroidvanias. I missed it. Let's see if I can shoot through. There we go. Let me jump up here. Got it. Okay, cool. Now I need to go back this way. So, Circle of the Moon stars Nathan Graves. And he uses a whip only. So this is one of the games that sort of adheres more towards the traditional Castlevania, where each character only has one item they can use. and so he just uses the whip. But it's one of my favorite games because not only was it my first one, and I spent hours upon hours in that game, but it's hard. And I really like games that provide more challenge. The enemies were tougher, although I will say that there is a lot of sprite swapping done in that game. And in this game, there are basically no enemies that look alike. There are very few that look alike, and all the ones that do are very customizable. So, I'm going to turn to the wolf and run through here really fast. There we go. That works. So, Circle of the Moon is harder. Probably, it's even hard. One of the problems with Symphony of the Night is that the game is too... People say the game is way too easy, and I have to agree. It is, compared to many of the other Metroidvania games, it becomes easy, especially if you get certain things. For example, if you buy the what was it, the diamond plate, I think, from the merchant, you basically become immune to damage, and you have so much defense that it doesn't really matter if you take damage at all. Which is kind of sad. So, okay, so the Sword Brothers... Let me kill this guy. The Sword Brothers is a spell that the sword can use. So to use it, you press down, and then you roll the D-pad forward and up. And you hold up for a while, and then you press down and attack at the same time. So I'll demonstrate that again. So you go like this. If I can do it right, it's hard. Come on. Nope. Okay, let's go to this area. Try it here. I can't seem to do it. Maybe the sword has to not be attacking. There we go. Gather, brother soul blades. So that's the move. It shows up in your little spell thing. So that red up arrow means you have to hold up in order to get it. And it's kind of expensive, but it's not as expensive as our favorite Soul Steel. We love our Soul Steel. So Circle of the Moon is renowned for its difficulty. And here's the spot I haven't been. So here you can see we encountered a similar area in the upside down castle, the inverted castle, that has much more sub-weapon selection. But we're just going to stick with the stopwatch for now. Here's the final relic in the game. We get the Skill of Wolf. It's not very apparent what it does. So it says special move is wolf. Well, it's not obvious, but basically what it does is it lets the wolf swim a little bit, and that's kind of confusing. And it seems a little pointless at first, but it's one of the only ways to uncover certain parts of the map. And it's rather frustrating to try to uncover certain parts of the map, and I'll be demonstrating it in it's the inverted castle where it's hard. So, Circle of the Moon it's hard, but I think overall it was a very polished game. There were a lot of complaints that the game was too dark because the regular Game Boy Advance didn't have the backlight, so that was a very big critical error. At least that was a big critic point right there, and that kind of disappoints me. Here's a cloak. We don't really need it though. We have Alucard's cape, so we're fine. So Circle of the Moon it's very... I would say it definitely adheres more towards traditional Castlevania style overall. You got your sub-weapons, you've got your one weapon you can use. You've got your trusty whip. For the most part, all the Belmonts used whips, and they can't jump. So just cheat and fly up. Where do we need to go? I'll go this way. So, and it was very tough because of the mechanics. But traditional Castlevania games, like the ones on the Nintendo, the regular Nintendo, they were just like that. But one good thing about Circle of the Moon was that Nathan, if you whipped in the air, you were able to completely control yourself. And you could, so he could whip. He had a whip animation, and you could keep turning, and his whip would continue to strike left and right. And that was one thing that really stood out to me. I like that. I like being able to control not only my horizontal velocity in the air. You can kill this thing, by the way, this iron ball. I'll show that. You can kill the iron ball off. You just have to make sure you don't kill the thing below it. So I can carefully... There we go, I killed the spike ball. So yeah, spike ball is an enemy. And you can kill it. Where I need to go, okay. So Circle of the Moon was hard because of mechanics. So for example, in most of the Metroidvanias, you're able to like do this run. So like Alucard here, he can like dash or run, and pretty much all of the other Metroidvania games had this, where you have this like you can't like run. You just have a default walking speed, and it's fast enough. One of the problems in Circle of the Moon was that Nathan was unable to run unless he double tapped forward, and that was a very annoying mechanic. So things like that really add up, and it was just a combination of many things. Enemies were difficult. Okay, I got that spot. Where else do we need to go? Oh, down there. Okay, we'll go this way. Yeah, we'll go this way. Yes, we'll go this way. Kill this guy. So the enemies inflicted a lot of status conditions on you. Poison in particular was very, very deadly. It's basically unnoticeable in Symphony of the Night. But in Circle of the Moon, poison really, really hurt you. And it was painful. I think it did percentage-based damage. In this game, I haven't been poisoned enough to really figure out what it does. But it's pretty weak. If it's that unnoticeable, so it's definitely something to consider. And every enemy that could poison you, every enemy that could status affect you, pretty much did it to you every time. And that got... So for example, I talked in the very beginning about... Fly up here. That's not as high as I can go. That's... Nope. I talked earlier about the marionettes. They were turned into creatures that can curse you in Circle of the Moon. Is that where we're supposed to go? Yeah. And every single time you touch them... Fly, you stupid bat. There we go. So every single time you touch them, you got cursed. Every single time you touched an enemy that could poison you, or poison attacks, you got poisoned. And you could use like antidotes, or you could use curse potions, or anti-curse potions, to cure them. But it was annoying if you just touched them one more time. So, I guess it's not really something you have to worry about in most of the other Metroidvania games. That's not the one I want. Also, just the difficulty overall was tough. There was one place where you had a bunch of water, and there were a lot of enemies that could freeze you. That's the place where you fight, I think it's Camilla, or Carmilla, whatever you want to interpret it as. Oh, there's one spot I missed there. And if you get frozen... So in this game, if you get turned to stone, if you take damage when you get turned to stone, you take a lot of damage. You take increased damage. More than usual. But the problem... But in this game, getting petrified is not that big of a deal. It's really not. But in, for example, Circle of the Moon, if you got affected by freeze, if you got frozen, then you would take like 5 times as much damage from enemies, and you couldn't hardly escape it. In this game, you can easily escape it. Other games, not as much. Although I think in Aria, I think in the Sorrow series, it's easy to escape it still. So that's a good thing. But Circle of the Moon is good because it's hard. The other games in the series are definitely easier by comparison. Kill those books. My sword's not really helping that much, is it? So let's see. Can I just jump up here? I just jump up there. Alright. Takes care of that. But I love Circle of the Moon. It's hard, and everything, it seems very, very polished overall. Some critics complain because they didn't like the fact that Circle of the Moon was so dark, and that it was so tough, and that the enemies... There were elemental types of armor enemies. So in this game, there were like axe armors. There were only 2 kinds. But in Circle of the Moon, there are like 12 different kinds of axe armor. Or not axe armor, of armors. So there'll be like axe armor, which throws axes. Or there'll be like the sword armor, which uses like a wind sword attack. Or there will be like the thunder armor, which shoots out little balls of electricity that home in on you. I think the worst ones were the poison armors, and those were abysmal. No one liked those because they would throw these little poison things out of their swords. It doesn't make any sense at all. But they would throw these things out of their swords. You know what? I'm just gonna... No, that's fine. And they would home in on you and poison you. And they would keep shooting them out. So the enemies were definitely more frustrating in Circle of the Moon. And I would say enemy placement against you a lot in Circle of the Moon. So there's little forgiveness in that game. Fly through here. Come on, bat. You can do it. Alright, there we go. We did it. See, I took a lot of damage there. But it actually is pretty rare to take damage when you're petrified in this game. It kind of confuses me. Let's get down here as quickly as we can. I think the fairy actually talks. Fairy card in one of these areas. Let's see if I can get her to say something. Oh. See, I took no damage that time. I'm not quite sure how damage, if you get petrified, works in this game, but it's very inconsistent, so I don't really worry about it at all. Okay, I covered that. I think that covers pretty much everything in this castle. Oh, I missed a spot down below. I'll have to go there. So I'll do that. I'll have to warp there. So the Circle of the Moon was my first one, and then I actually skipped Aria of Sorrow and Harmony of Dissonance. I played Dawn of Sorrow. So, Dawn of Sorrow was my next game, but I'll talk about Aria of Sorrow first, because it's the one that comes before Dawn of Sorrow. So, here we go. Got a stick of dynamite. So I'll be showing off all the usable items later. I'm gonna try to lump all the useful stuff together, so that way if people want to skip through, they can do that. But anyway, so the next game in the series that I'll talk about is Aria of Sorrow. And this game was good. Aria of Sorrow, I hate Harmony of Dissonance. By the way, I hate it with a passion. A lot of people say that it's good and it's better than Circle of the Moon, like by far, but I think Circle of the Moon is a better game. But I'll get to Harmony of Dissonance later. I really, really hate Harmony of Dissonance, and I'll explain why. You'll know why. So, Aria of Sorrow introduces the soul system. So this is the game that has Soma Cruz. the Sorrow series has Soma Cruz as the protagonist. And he's able to wield a bunch of weapons. Pretty much everyone... Actually, Alucard can wield a variety of weapons and sub-weapons. But in the Sorrow series, Soma is able to wield swords, is able to use lances and axes, and pretty much every kind of weapon you could want to use. Katanas. So they definitely tried to improve the choices, the freedom the player had in terms of attacking. So if you wanted to use a giant sword that had did a lot of damage, but it was slow to attack with, you can do it. Or if you wanted a weapon that was faster to attack with, but did less damage, you can do that. They didn't mind. And it was good. It was good to have that kind of variety in the game. So that was definitely a step in the right direction. So that's the game that introduced... It did away with sub-weapons entirely. Like the axe or the watch I'm just dealing with here. Is it this way? No. And they replaced it with souls. So Soma, he was born with the power of dominance, which is the same thing as Dracula has. So that's why he's like a candidate to become Dracula. So people are trying to turn him into Dracula, which is kind of funny, I think. But because he ends up going on the adventure and like getting in danger every single time. But I mean, hey, we wouldn't have a Castlevania game without it, so I'm not going to complain. But anyway, so he has the power of soul dominance. So you'll notice Alucard has Soul Steal. If I can do it. No, it's not going to bother. You've seen Soul Steal enough. Soul Steal gives you the ability to literally steal souls. So it means a lot more than you think it does right off the bat. So Alucard, who is a spawn of Dracula, right? He's able to use Soul Steal. Dracula himself is also able to use Soul Steal, and he demonstrates this in Portrait of Ruin. When you're fighting the final boss as Jonathan and Charlotte, you fight Death and Dracula together at the same time, and then for the second half of the fight, he uses Soul Steal on Death, and absorbs Death into him, and becomes this, like, I don't remember what it's called, but he becomes this, like, creature, this foul creature, kind of like Dracula in the beginning of the game, when Richter's fighting him in Symphony of the Night. And anyway, so Soma has the power of soul dominance. I'm gonna go faster than this guy. I can't believe I missed a spot on the map. Oh well, that would have been nice to have. So Soma has the power of soul dominance, and this gives him the ability to absorb the souls of enemies he fights. It's like a rare drop chance with each one. There's certain ones that are rarer than others, and things like that. And he gains the ability. He can use a soul set. So usually he gains the ability to use like a bullet type soul, which lets you shoot stuff. Did I really miss it because of that? Wow, okay. That's kind of embarrassing. Anyway, so Soma he can like shoot out. So like, for example, he has 3 soul slots, and each of them is used for different purposes. So for example, the bullet type soul you can shoot projectiles with. And there's certain enemies that give you different kinds of projectiles. But Soma also uses mana. Oh, I got ice cream. Great. So Soma can use different souls to like boost his own stats, or he can use a soul to jump really high. Like for example, Alucard has his high jump. Soma gains something similar to it that lets him also do a high jump. So where am I going? I need to go to the warp point. Retrace my steps. Okay. Or he's able to do things like he can temporarily transform into something to do a lot of damage, but it costs a lot of mana. So one thing to note is that the soul system was a huge improvement over Circle of the Moon's system of dual setup strategy, or DSS cards. So in Circle of the Moon, that's one of the things that's good and bad about Circle of the Moon, is that, gosh darn it, stupid frogs. One of the problems with Circle of the Moon is that in order to use his other powers, so Nathan had the ability to use the Vampire Killer Whip, No, the Hunter's Whip. He uses the Hunter's Whip. He's not a Belmont, so he can't use the whip. This way. So he has his whip. He has a slide that he gets. So Alucard's unable to slide. That's one of the differences. Pretty much everyone else in the other Metroidvania games is able to slide. Alucard can't. But he has the wolf, so he can kind of squeeze in to places. So that's not really important. But one of the beautiful things about... Gosh darn it. One of the beautiful things about Aria of Sorrow... Fly bat. Thank you. Is that the souls were so easy to get compared to the DSS cards in Circle of the Moon. Some of the DSS cards in Circle of the Moon, they were frustratingly hard to get, and you would not know to think and to go in certain spots to get some of the cards. For example, after you beat a certain boss in the game, I think it's later in the game in Circle of the Moon, a candle, one of the candles in the very first boss room, Cerberus I think it is, would transform into something that if you killed it enough times, it would finally give you a card. And they were themed like you can mix and match the cards. It's like Card Captor Nathan, basically. If you know Card Captor Sakura. It's kind of a funny joke. But kind of sad too. But anyway, so they were themed like half of the cards were themed so that you could do. They were named after like planets. So for example, there was like Mercury, Pluto, back when Pluto was actually considered a planet. Mars and that kind of thing. Each of them specialized in certain things. So for example, what was it? I think Mercury lets you enhance your whip so that it uses new powers. And depending on the other cards, so the other card set was like elemental creatures or mythical creatures, so like unicorn or salamander, things like that. Griffin, Thunderbird, so all the elements. They're trying to hit all the elements. What else is there? Golem, that kind of thing. So you've got quite a bit more of this map to uncover. So this might take some time. So in Aria of Sorrow, the only thing you had to do in order to get souls was kill an enemy enough times. You didn't have to track down which enemies had which souls, or had which cards in them, which was painful, by the way, to do. The game did not tell you in any way, shape, or form which enemies had which cards. And the game didn't even tell you what some of the effects were of the cards. Whereas in Aria of Sorrow, it was very easy to tell what each card, what each soul did. I'm really speaking, I'm really interchanging my terms here. So Aria of Sorrow took a step in the right direction in terms of making it much more simplified and smooth of a job to collect every soul. And again, some were more rare than others. Both games had... also, Circle of the Moon had no merchant. So, like, in Symphony of the Night, we have a merchant. And he doesn't like me because he didn't give me the Dracula tunic, which I probably should have gotten. But that's okay. So he's really annoying. No one likes the merchant in this game. But there was no merchant in... Am I going the wrong way? Yeah, I'm going that way. There was no merchant in Circle of the Moon. So you could not buy things like potions. Like in this game, I bought some potions, but I had enough good equipment that it didn't really matter. But in Circle of the Moon, you wanted potions and stuff. You needed those kinds of items because the game was hard. And some of the bosses were just immensely powerful. Even some of the normal enemies were immensely powerful. In this game, in Symphony of the Night, I demonstrated... I let Frozen Half, which is in the floating catacombs, like way at the top of this castle. I let it use its powerful Ice Storm attack. And in Circle of the Moon... Oh, this is the place I hate. Fortunately, I have a cheating weapon. So, in Circle of the Moon... you had to have So the frozen half can freeze you. You'll notice the freeze effect was insignificant. It was like I wasn't even frozen. Like, it didn't even count as being frozen. But in Circle of the Moon, it was like being petrified, but worse. Hey, it's a save point. Yeah, go ahead and save. So in Circle of the Moon, you had to escape it like petrification. You had to escape freeze, the freeze status effect, as if it was petrification. Only you took immense amounts of damage if you got hit. You got defrosted, but you still took a ton of damage. I'm not even going to joke about that. It's stupid how much damage you take. So I can kill these guys easily now. Just mow everything down. Alright, we're going to hit the middle rim up above. So, in Circle of the Moon, being frozen sucked. And in the other Metroidvania games, it didn't. That's what makes it good and bad. It's one of those games. Get through here as fast as I can. There we go. So Aria of Sorrow had more characters too. So in Aria of Sorrow, so in this game we have what? Alucard. We have Richter, who appears briefly in the beginning of the game and certain points in the game. And we also have Maria, and Maria appears often enough, I'd say. Let's jump up here as fast as we can. Okay, I'm not going to escape this. Fortunately, I'm a walking lawnmower. So, in the Sorrow series, the main characters were... You had Soma, who was the playable main character. He's a pretty cool dude. He had his best, quote-unquote, best friend, who's not really his best friend, but anyway. She's a Miko. Her name was Mina. But she didn't really appear that much at all. So she wasn't, like, wasting space or anything, but she wasn't really captured that much either. She was only captured once, so for once there's a female in the series who wasn't really captured. Let's see, I need to get one more spot up here. Kill these things before they take control of me. Alright, which part am I missing? There we go, got it. So in Aria of Sorrow we have Soma Cruz, our main character. Where else do we need to go? Down this way. And then we also had Mina, his friend. So Soma's like this high school guy, which I found kind of annoying. I think in the Sorrow series, Dracula's castle appears because of a solar eclipse. And I look at that and I'm like, are you serious? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. But I won't question it. It got us a game, so I'm not going to complain about it. Even though I just did. But it doesn't make much sense to me, at least, to have Dracula's castle appear as a solar eclipse. But that's besides the point. So there's a greater cast. So there's Soma, we have Mina, there's Yoko, who is a descendant of Sypha Belnades. They even share the same last name, which is interesting. So Yoko is a witch, and she can use magics. She's a magician. Kill these zombies. Kill them by slicing their heads off. And we had Julius Belmont. So which brings me to talk about game modes. Fly through here and avoid being hit. Okay, there we go. Do it again. There we go. Yes, got it all. Okay. Let's drop down here. So, am I in the right spot? I'm in the right spot. So, gameplay modes. So, Symphony of the Night has Richter mode, right? So it's got a mode where you can play as Richter Belmont in Alucards. story, basically. So going through both castles, you get to go through as Richter Beaumont. Although I don't think you get to fight Dracula at the end. But I think you get to fight Shaft. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten to the end of Richter's playthrough yet. Richter mode. In the PlayStation... In the Sega Saturn version, you're able to play as Maria. You also get to fight Maria. But you can also play as Maria and Richter from the beginning. So you didn't have to even beat the game first as Alucard in order to play as them. You could go through as Maria or Richter. Maria is really, really broken, by the way. You can probably look up a speed run of Maria going through the game. She's broken. She's even more broken than Richter. Richter has Hydro Storm, so that says a lot about how overpowered she is. I have not gone up here. So in this game, there's also the ability to. Oh, there's a hidden area here. How nice. So there's also in this game you get to play as Richter in the beginning of the game. There we go. Get a few weapons and stuff here. Most important, we're uncovering map, and that's important. So in this game, you get to play as Richter in the beginning. You get to see young Maria if you like die, quote unquote die as Richter, even though you can't really die. So there's no point in really bothering with it. Let's see, the middle of the castle. Yeah, we'll go there. So, Aria of Sorrow was pretty much... So Circle of the Moon had no other modes, really. You couldn't really play as other characters. But what you could do is you could affect Nathan in some way. So, for example, you can make it so his sub-weapons did a ton of damage, but the rest of his stats were weak. Or you can make it so that he had high luck. So, like, he was like a thief. These Guardians, by the way, I can finally kill them easily. They drop the God's Garb. I don't know if I'll try to get it. I'm not going to waste time. But it's a very, very powerful equip. I think it's even stronger than the Alucard mail, but I'm not going to bother getting it. Here's a secret. I tried to get it earlier and I didn't. So I'm kind of sad about that. But that's okay. So you're in Circle of the Moon, you're able to play as only Nathan. But you can for example, you can enter your name Fireball, and you'll have like all the DSS cards to begin with. And that made you very... And you also had like a lot of mana and a lot of mana regen if you played that mode, so you didn't have to worry about... You could use a lot of the DSS cards to get through the game. And it was an interesting way to do it, but the rest of his stats would be weaker as to compensate for that. So that was kind of disappointing. Jump up. Missed some stuff here. And there are other things, like, for example, his regular strength, I think Fighter was the one. His whip would do a lot of damage, or he had, like, high strength to begin with. But you couldn't use the DSS cards at all. So the game offered a lot of interesting challenges here and there. But it was inevitably the same mode over and over again. Which is fine. For that game, it's okay. So Aria of Sorrow had Julius mode. Gotta be careful here. You can easily die here. But Julius mode basically lets you play through the game as Julius Belmont instead of Soma. So what this lets you do was you can play as a totally different character. So instead of being able to use swords or axes or lances or big swords or small swords or whatever the heck kind of weapons you wanted to classify them as, you got to play as Julius. And he plays more like traditional heroes. He has his whip only. I don't want the knife. He's got his whip. So he's got the vampire killer because he's a Belmont. And he's got you can choose between a different variety of sub-weapons. He can also use like an item crush, and then he can use the cross, with this super cross move where he like gathers energy and shoots a huge cross above him for lots and lots of damage. And that was nice. So you had that mode. He was generally considered very, very powerful and just did a lot of damage overall. He was strong. One of the traits of like a Julius mode playthrough is that Julius, or whoever you're playing through as like an alternate character, doesn't have to be Julius, but whoever you're playing through as tends to be really strong early in the game, but much weaker later. Doesn't scale as well. So Julius starts out being able to curb stomp basically everything in the game, which led to some interesting things. And so that was another mode you unlocked by, I think it's just by beating the game. And there's a similar mode in Dawn of Sorrow, but you were able to play as, in addition to just Julius, you're also able to play as 2 other supporting characters. And that would be Yoko, so you could use magic spells. She had the ability to regenerate her health with auto attacks, or regular attacks. And she had this like sliding back, like cartwheel backflip thing. So she had good movement. They all had a high jump to begin with, so you could go through the game pretty much anytime you wanted to. Let's see here. Okay, so I think, is this one of the points? Okay, so you'll notice I'm not getting the map uncovered here. Even if I high jump, I'm not getting it uncovered. It refuses to work. So the thing is, this is where our wolf buddy comes in handy. So the wolf can swim. Notice that he jumped a little bit. We're going to use that to uncover the map. Watch. See, I just uncovered a portion of the map. This has been baffling gamers for years. Because some parts of the map, you can't... It's like the wolf has this magical hitbox. Even if I jump up here, it does not work. But if you high jump to the wall and then turn into the wolf, he has like a bigger hitbox. And I could never figure out why that's the case. But it does, it works, so I'm not going to complain. Run through here a little bit. So anyway, back to Aria of Sorrow. The characters were more compelling. There were more characters in general. And overall the game was just more free-flowing. And there's a merchant, so you can buy and sell stuff. The merchant was also very interactable with Soma, and he had a pretty... It's an item. He had a pretty cool character personality. His name was Hammer. So he's a really cool dude. Do a diving kick. There we go. Our upside down water here. That always amuses me. So Aria of Sorrow was a huge step in the right direction, and Dawn of Sorrow did a very good job of following up on that, and basically just tacked even more onto the game series, the Sorrow series. So I definitely recommend, if you want to play a Metroidvania, definitely start at least by playing the Sorrow series. It's not too easy, but it's very intuitive, and it's not really that... It can be challenging. You can challenge yourself in those games. They aren't as challenging as Circle the Moon, which is frustratingly challenging, similar to how the original Castlevania games are frustrating. So that says a lot. With the gravity in the water. But basically, the Sorrow series is worthwhile. Definitely worth it. Kill this guy. Kill these things. So jump up here. So then I played... So I played Circle the Moon first. Make sure I get every single bit of the map. So I played Circle the Moon first. It's my first Castlevania game and Metroidvania game. And then I played Dawn of Sorrow. And then I decided to try Aria of Sorrow. So I played that, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was just like Dawn of Sorrow, but it had a few more limitations to it. But that's expected because it's like the game that came before it. So you gotta give some wiggle room for improvement in sequels. So those games were good. And then I played Harmony of Dissonance. Or no. I played Dawn of Sorrow, and then I played Portrait of Ruin. So Portrait of Ruin was the second Nintendo DS Metroidvania released. The other one, the last one being... Gosh darn it, stop throwing your stupid bones. Okay. Killed him. Alright. So, Portrait of Ruin was... It was more of an experiment, I think. But it was a good experiment. Oh, I hate this area. So, Portrait of Ruin, it's the first game to have dual protagonists. So you play as Jonathan Morris and Charlotte Allen. So Jonathan... Okay, so what I understand, Jonathan is like the son... Either grandson or son of Quincy... Is it Quincy Morris? Maybe it's Quincy Morris. But there was a John Morris somewhere in the series. I'm a little rusty on my Castlevania lineage. So don't harm me, please. But that was kind of pointless. But basically, just think they're back. Basically, Jonathan Morris, he has the vampire killer, but he's not able to use it in the beginning of the game because he's not like of the lineage of the Belmonts, so he's not able to use their legendary vampire killing whip. So they've come to fight Dracula, and Charlotte is like his friend. He calls her his kid sister, and their interaction's kind of like a little more childish, but I'd say it's pretty entertaining. So that game it had a bunch of quests. The layout of Circle of the Moon basically reflected the layout in Symphony of the Night, and so did the Sorrow series. So they're all structured the same pretty much. But in Portrait of Ruin, you have one of the main antagonists is Bronner, and he has two vampire daughters named Stella and Loretta, and they constantly get in the way. There are some spoilers there, but I'm not gonna go into that. But basically, Bronner is trying to resurrect. I don't know if he's trying to resurrect Dracula. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played Portrait of Ruin, but it's a good game. I promise it's a good game. Where am I going? What am I doing? Okay, here we go. And so in Portrait of Ruin, you get to control. That's obviously a secret. You get to control Jonathan and Charlotte, and you can switch between them anytime you want. You can also have the other follow you around as like an AI partner, but when they take damage, your mana meter goes down. Or when you have them summoned, the longer you keep them out, the more your mana drains. So Charlotte has the ability to cast magic spells, and that's her like forte. There's a save point here. Nah, I'm gonna save. And she attacks with books. She equips books to attack with. I thought Charlotte was interesting. She's pretty strong. Jonathan plays more like Soma in that he can use a variety of weapons. He can use a variety of sub-weapons. You can also... I have not been here yet. You can also master weapons in that game. Sub-weapons. So for example, the Bible, which is like the book I have in this game. I'm going to go back up. If you use his sub-weapon enough times, you get the chance to, like... It becomes more powerful. So that was definitely nice. So that's basically the way that Charlotte and Jonathan played. You can do unique things that have them interact with each other. For example, Richter has the item crush in this game, like Hydro Storm and all that good stuff. Am I going the right way? Yes. But in Portrait of Ruin, Charlotte and Jonathan had the ability called Dual Crush. So it was like an ability to use a very, very powerful special attack. So for example, Soul Steel, if I can do it. There we go. That's like a special attack. Hits every enemy on the screen, does a lot of damage, heals you. and it's just really powerful. So, oh my god, heart max. So if you used the dual crush, you can get different kinds of dual crushes. Oh, this is why I hate this place. Fortunately, I had the Crissaegrim. If you use the there are different dual crushes. Like for example, Richter has a move where if you use the knife and you use the item crush, he starts chucking knives like light speed, and it's just broken beyond belief. So one of the dual crushes that Charlotte and Jonathan can do is called Thousand Blades, and it just basically mimics the exact same thing. So the series really references itself pretty often, and whether or not that's a good or a bad thing, I'd say it's a good thing. I'll leave it up to your interpretation. Getting our meal tickets. Again. So we fought the Succubus in this area in the regular castle. That's good enough. And so you'll notice that the Succubus room is now... Oh, peanuts. So apparently instead of finding the Succubus in the Upside Down Castle, we have peanuts. That's lovely. I think they keep coming back. Is this the room that has infinite peanuts? I don't remember. Yes. So, no matter how many times you enter this room, you will get peanuts. Why? I do not know. But they're hidden, so I guess it's kind of a hidden gem. Or hidden peanut in this case. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Anyway, so Portrait of Ruin... the way you entered areas... So there was a regular overworld castle, but in order to... There were different worlds. And in order to enter the worlds, you had to... Basically, you jump into portraits, which is like the theme of the game. Because the main antagonist, Bronner, he's like a painter, so I guess that's supposed to be the reference there. So you could jump into paintings, and you have a whole other world to explore inside the paintings. Which was great, because you got to go around different environments, and it was a lot of fun. I like the environments. No, we can't fall. I'm getting lazy. There we go. Okay, great. Alright, we're going to uncover some more map up here. So, go this way. So Portrait of Ruin was very expansive. It also featured quests, so you found a mysterious character named Wind in that game, and he was like a ghost. He like already died. And he would charge you with certain quests throughout the game, like collect certain equipment, or kill this many of this kind of enemy. Okay, is this a spot I can... There we go. Hopefully this area doesn't have too many spots where I need the wolf. Do a jump up here. Oh dear, is this one of the spots? I couldn't believe my eyes when I first tried to unlock these, like, map tiles. Because the way of doing it is just so ridiculous. That didn't work. Maybe it's over here. So you had a lot more to do in Portrait of Ruin. It's right. Is it right here? No, it's too far. Alright, let's try over here. It must be right here. Oops, wrong. Let's try this. Nope, no dice. So I'm gonna keep trying this. So, Portrait of Ruin, great game. Interesting characters, interesting mechanics, new mechanics. And the Julius mode, quote-unquote, Julius mode there, I still can't get it, was... there were two. You could play as Richter and Maria. So you could actually play as Richter and Maria from Rondo of Blood. So in the beginning of this game, in Symphony of the Night, you play as Richter. Gosh darn it, why can't I get it? It's annoying. I'll come back to this spot. And you see young Maria. There, I got it. First try. You see young Maria. She's only 12 at the time. So this game is like 5 years later. Maria is 17 in this game. And... do that. See, that's easy. I don't know why they make this so hard. Whatever. But you never get to play as young Maria from Rondo of Blood. So this game, so Portrait of Ruin treats you to being able to play as young Maria. There we go, got it. One of our magical wolf is able to unlock tiles for us for reasons beyond my comprehension. There we go. This wolf hitbox. It's so good. Let me find the spot. Did I get it? Oh, I got it. Okay. Okay, that one's easy. Do that one right there. Nope, that's not it. So, there were two Julius modes, as I was saying. There were two Julius modes in Portrait of Ruin. I shouldn't say Julius mode, but that's the first one that started it all, was being able to play as Julius. Okay, so we got every tile here except for one. So, you could also play as Stella and Loretta, the Vampire Sisters, and they made extensive use of the touchscreen. So they finally really used the touchscreen. And basically all their attacks were touchscreen oriented. So the mode was... That game gave you a lot of options, and it's great. I missed it. It's a really good game. I don't think it's as polished as a game like this, like Symphony of the Night. Gosh darn it. But it's still seriously worth its weight. I do prefer Dawn of Sorrow over Portrait of Ruin, but that's just me. Portrait of Ruin is longer. Okay, this place hates me. Right jump right here. Nope. Alright, this could take a while. So anyway, that's Portrait of Ruin. I haven't played Order of Ecclesia. That's the last DS Castlevania game. Oh my gosh. This is going to drive me crazy. So the last game that I want to talk about is Harmony of Dissonance. The game I hate so much. So Harmony of Dissonance came after Circle of the Moon, but before Aria of Sorrow. This place does not like me at all. I can't win. Let me try over here. Does this place count? No. Never mind. Alright, I'm just gotta keep trying. There's like one pixel you have to stand in order for it to work. It's not easy to do. So, Harmony of Dissonance stars Juiced Belmont. Oh, I got it! Oh, I was right there! Wow, okay. So, that's really annoying. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Okay, where else do we need to go? Oh, the bottom area. Okay, I have to work. Alright, so the hard part's over. I uncovered the hardest parts of the map. So Harmony of Dissonance stars Juiced Belmont. So the plot is that he and his friend Maxim they're trying to... Maxim was lost. He was like going to train. He and Juiced were like training together, but Juiced inherited the Belmont whip, the vampire killer. And Maxim went to go train off in Europe somewhere, conveniently near where Dracula's pieces were located. So in order to try to, he had like an inferiority complex because Juiced was better. So he has like a rivalry with Juiced, a friendly rivalry with Juiced. And so what he did, he tried to do something like impossible. And what he tried to do was collect all the pieces of Dracula. And so he did. He managed to collect all the pieces of Dracula. The problem was when Maxim returned, he had amnesia, and suddenly Dracula's castle had appeared. So Juiced was called upon to go explore the castle with his friend Maxim. And so his friend... They both have a friend named Liddy. Liddy Erlanger, I think her name is. So she's like the damsel of that game. There's always a damsel in Castlevania games, pretty much. I think almost all of them do. In this game, actually, this game doesn't really have a damsel. Richter is actually the one who gets in trouble, so that's a good break from the stereotype. Having a female be in trouble all the time. But anyway, so kill all these bats. Get rid of these bats. So, in Harmony of Dissonance, how do I explain this? There are a lot of mechanics that I do not like in that game. For one thing, in this game, I'm about to demonstrate it, so I'll shut up until I get there. So in the warp point here, you're not able to control which warp point you go to. And you can't encircle the moon either. In Harmony of Dissonance, you kind of are, but you kind of aren't. And the reason why I say that is that Harmony of Dissonance, it does the whole two castle thing just like this game, but it does it in a much poorer... It executes it much more poorly. And the reason why it does it is... it slowly becomes apparent to Juiced as he's going through the castle. So Juiced can only use the whip. Okay, so let me first talk about Juiced. He's got the ability... Let me go save, actually. He's got the ability to use these like elemental books to affect his sub-weapons. So he's like Nathan. He can use the whip, he can use sub-weapons, and he can use some sort of magical enhancement. And his enhancement is using elemental books. So you can combine, like, for example, the cross or the knife with like the fire tome or something like that. I didn't really like the elemental books, but you could you could combine them to expend mana, but your moves would be like way more powerful, or they would do secret stuff or whatever. I wasn't really that into it because I used the cross because I love. So in Circle of the Moon, I love the cross sub weapon. In this game, I hate it because you can only use it as a dual crush, but the cross sub weapon is just like. It's so powerful. It becomes like your best friend forever. Like your BFF. And so... you can... I went through most of Harmony of Dissonance not knowing about that you could combine the books with sub-weapons to get, like, new effects. There's an item there. Let's get it. But I didn't like them. I just liked having my good old cross. Because it did so much damage. It was so effective. So I think that was a little bit of an experiment, and it kind of was a failed experiment, in my opinion. I like the DSS card system better. I'm going in a way I can't go. So that's one of the things I didn't like. It just seemed kind of unnecessary and unneeded. But maybe I'm just more of a purist in terms of that, so that wasn't as big of a deal to me. So, one of the other things I did not like in Harmony of Dissonance is that if you whip in the air... So I mentioned in Circle of the Moon, Nathan is able to control... Fly, you stupid bat. That's right there, okay. It's funny. So Nathan's able to control which way he goes. Oh, I've already been here. Gosh darn it. So Nathan's able to control which way he goes... and faces in the direction when he's in the air. Oh, items here. That's great. So I'll try to demonstrate every item I can in a little bit since I uncover this map. But in Harmony, so one of the complaints about I missed it completely. Wow. One of the complaints about the traditional Castlevania games is that when you whipped. And people like Ego Raptor, who did the Sequelitis... Oh, there's one room I missed down there. Did Sequelitis, and talked about the Castlevania games, is that in the original Castlevanias, when you whipped, you were kind of forced to maintain your horizontal velocity when you moved in the air, after you whipped. And it was incredibly annoying. Also, I hate this room. get out of here. Let's see if I can fly through. Fly! Oh, the bat doesn't want to fly. The bat never wants to fly. So in Harmony of Dissonance... Gosh darn it, am I going the right way? Okay, good. I'd be sad if it wasn't. So, Harmony of Dissonance... one of the things I didn't like... The cool new feature in that game was collecting furniture. So you could... There's like random furniture you could find hidden around the castle. But the problem is, the furniture was like... Wait. The furniture is so... There's no point to it. Because all you did to collect the furniture, you get like things like lucky cats. Gosh darn, I cannot jump to save my life. Then you get things like the lucky cat with the hand raised and everything. Let's go up here. Tables, like a carpet, or I don't even remember. But there's a room you could go to put all your furniture in. And whatever. Fly. There we go. Go down. But there's no point to it. Like, there's no reason to collect the furniture other than, hey, I completed... Okay, so there was a point to the furniture, fine. If you collected all the furniture and put it in that one room, you would actually unlock the best ending in the game. And the best ending in the game for Harmony of Dissonance is, in the very end of the game, if you get like the conditions for the best ending met, and you go to the end of the game, what's this? Lightning mail, we don't even need it. Let's see, what other spots on the map am I missing? I think I've got everything. So I will go to the middle of the castle. Okay, good. So in Harmony of Dissonance, the best ending is unlocked if you fulfill the requirements to get like the best ending. I should go. Just gonna go. Take the long way so I can talk more. I hope you're not getting too tired of me talking. But, so in Harmony of Dissonance, you fulfill all the requirements to get the best ending. But in order to get it, you have to collect all the furniture and put it in like the furniture room in the castle. And the only difference in the good ending, if you collect all the furniture, is that when you rescue Liddy, she'll lean her head on Juice at the end, like, aw, that's so cute. And that's it. That's literally the only difference. So, and to top it all off, it was a joke. Because why would you collect furniture and place it in a room inside Dracula's castle? Because Dracula's castle is just gonna collapse anyway. So pretty much every Castlevania game, every Metroidvania game after this one has Dracula's castle collapsing. And so it made no sense to collect all the chairs and tables and stools and whatever else you wanted to talk about. Gosh darn it. Here we go. It made no sense because the place was gonna crumble anyway. So it was very, very pointless. It's for those 100% completionists, but it was not compelling at all to do. Really, it's not. Even unlocking map in this game is more compelling than that. And that says a lot. Because it's kind of annoying to do this. And you're seeing how long it's taking me to uncover all the map. So, that's another thing I didn't like about Harmony of Dissonance. Another thing I didn't like is that in most of the games, most of the Metroidvanias, you didn't have to equip like items in order to get through the game. You just passively had abilities to help you get through. So for example, in Circle of the Moon, you had the ability called Tackle, which lets you break stone blocks. This is a nice ability to have. And in order to activate it, you pressed R while moving. There's another one right here. You press R while moving and you break blocks. You can also use it to attack. But there are items in Harmony of Dissonance, like for example the Crushing Stone, which lets you break specific, like crumbling doors, like stone doors. But you had to keep equipping the crushing stone, charge up your whip for like 3 seconds, and then use it. And it was like a cool, yeah, it was a more powerful attack, fine. But it decreased the regular strength of your whip, and you had to equip it every time you wanted to open one of those doors. And I thought to myself, why would you want to keep having to equip the crushing stone over and over again? Didn't make sense to me. Like, for example, it makes sense for the charge shot, yes. But it makes absolutely no sense to do it. Am I missing a room? No. I mean, absolutely no sense to have to keep equipping it to break those specific doors. Speaking of doors, there were like 4 or 5 different kinds of locked doors in Harmony of Dissonance. It was one of the most annoying things I've ever seen. Because and to make it worse, they did the dual castle thing, and it slowly becomes apparent that there are 2 different castles, but they look exactly the same. Like this one's upside down. In Symphony of the Night, the inverted castle is inverted. It's completely flipped upside down. And that makes it cool. Because everything's upside down and everything still works. That's cool. That's the wrong form. Here we go. But in Harmony of Dissonance, the castles looked identical, except for maybe a few minor changes. And you weren't even able to notice at first that you were in another castle. Until eventually, Juiced, with the help of Death confirming it, Juiced finally figures out that it's actually 2 castles. And to make things even worse, the warp rooms doubled as you could warp between castles, or you could warp between rooms inside of the same castle. The problem was, in order to warp between different castles, so castle is like Castle A and Castle B. In order to warp from like A to B, you had to go to one of the warp areas and press up on the control pad, which is fine. And it opens up like the gate, and you pass to the other castle, which is fine. And you're in the exact same spot in the other castle when you warp to the other castle. But there are certain warp points in Harmony of Dissonance that will warp you to either the same spot. At first I couldn't tell if they were warping you to the same spot in a different castle or the same spot in the same castle, until I finally figured out that there were different castles. So I'm going to continue my little talk here. My rant about how Harmony of Dissonance sucks. I'm going to try to farm for the God's Garb. Actually, I'm going to try to do that right now. So I need the Ring of Arcana. There we go. So it was so confusing because I was unable to tell if I was warping between the same castle to a different spot in the same castle, or the same spot in a different castle, or a different spot in a different castle. Eventually I figured out it was if you pressed down, you could use points that would let you transfer between castles as warp points that would take you to the same spot in the other castle. So it was just naturally confusing. Another thing that was confusing are the hints. There's one point where you fight a boss, and that's when you're supposed to figure out that changes you make in one castle affect the other castle, which should make sense. They're the same castle, but they're slightly different. They're not even really different at all. Just different enemies, different difficulty, and that kind of thing. So by the way, these guardians give you they're lots of experience. So this is what I leveled off of, pretty much, for a long time. If you constantly attack, they guard. So that's why I'm kind of cheating. But in any case... So, if you don't attack, they won't do that, though. So, there's one point where you fight a boss in Harmony of Dissonance, and you're supposed to go to the same spot in the other castle, because the boss like broke a wall or something like that, and you're supposed to know to go to the other castle, but there's no indicator whatsoever that you're supposed to go to the other castle in the same spot, and it just pissed me off. Because I had to look at game facts, like an FAQ or walkthrough, and it was just annoying beyond belief to do that. So that's another thing I didn't like. Oh, I got it. I got the God's Garb. Wow, that's pretty lucky. God's Garb, strongest of all armor. Yeah. It's pretty darn strong. So we're going to go ahead and use... We're basically decked out. If I use 2 Rings of Varda, I'm about as decked out as I could ever be. So... I'm going to go to an area that has some easier enemies. I'll go, this way. No, I'll go this way. Can I attack? Oh, that was weird. Actually, I'll go show off the enemy that drops the Ring of Varda. So what else did I not like about Harmony of Dissonance? The character interaction was just bad in that game. And another thing I didn't like... let's see, there's so many things I didn't... The game is not that bad, honestly. I think I'm being a little too critical of it. But the game itself is not bad. It's really not that bad. The problem is, it just had too many bad points to it, in my opinion. I'll have to be quick about this. I gotta go through this area. I hate this area. Go! Okay. The bat never... It's like a rule. The bat never works when you want it to work. Dodge these skeleton shooting beams. Hey, I got an item. The Terminus Est. I think it's pretty... I'll show off every weapon I can later. Ooh. Dodge those. Okay. So keep going this way. Nope. Oh, okay, good. Oh, wait a minute. This is not the right... It's not the right way. Dodge that. So which ones do I like the most? Which Metroidvania games do I like the most? Symphony of the Night is obviously my favorite, just because... Okay, so I need to talk about Symphony of the Night. I've hinted here and there why I like Symphony of the Night more than pretty much every Metroidvania game. And so now I'm going to go into detail about why I like it the most. So in pretty much every other Metroidvania game, you can use special abilities to, like, for example, high jump. Alucard has a high jump. Right, we've been using it all the time. But he also has the ability to turn into animals and stuff. It's like the bat. You could do this with Soma in the Sorrow series, and that was an integral part of being able to get around the castle. It was a way for you to unlock new areas of the castle. So in that case, it made sense to go through and find the bat later and let you access different parts of the game. The thing is, though, in this game you get the bat form way earlier, but the fact that you're able to turn into different forms, like the form of mist, you can float anywhere you want. Or form of wolf. You can bark. You can do this like high jump. You can high jump too. If you I'll have to show it. If you dash and jump at the right angle, you can jump really high as the wolf. It's hard to do though. Let's see if I can do it. I did it recently. Oh, okay. There's a way to do it, but I'm not going to bother. So I'll show off the enemy that drops the Ring of Varda. You gotta remember, you must have a clear save file. Not replay. I think replay may work, but it needs to be clear. It has to say clear on the save file when you load the game. So this is the enemy right here. Paranthropus. That weird enemy. So I'm gonna show off every single weapon imaginable here. So let's start. Alright, so we'll start at the beginning. Very, very beginning. So here's the Basilard. So I'm gonna explain some things while I equip and show off weapons. A lovely rapier. I used the rapier. That was a good weapon. Okay, I need to show off the special moves, so I'm gonna go back here. So the special moves, you press left and right, and then attack, like a back attack, or right and left attack. It does this like special moves. For example, here's the Basilard. You can like stab an enemy a lot. It doesn't really do much damage. So. Well, I have a lot of good equipment on, but so the difference. Here's the regular attack. Here's the back attack. So I'll show off all these things here. I don't think the short sword has it. Yeah, doesn't have it. Rapier has one. Right? There we go. You press down forward. Like you roll the D-pad from down to forward. And there's this like rapid fire attack. The jewel swords is kind of cool. There's a huge delay on it though. I don't think it has... Oh yeah, see? If you use the special move, it like makes money. So I can do it again. There you go. So down forward makes coins. I wonder if they hit the enemy. Let's try it. Oops. Nope. But it does create coins, so that's really cool. That's a nifty thing. Combat knife. This is fast. Combat knife is a two-part attack. If you keep moving, you can spam it like crazy. But it's a two-part attack. I don't think it has a special move, though. Yeah, it doesn't have a special move. Let's see. The Shodel. You can throw it as a special move. That's cool. I wonder how much damage it does. Oops. Whoops, that's a fail. There we go. We got it. I didn't collect every single sword. This is cool. This is the... was it? The Holbane dagger. I don't think it has a back attack, though. But you can use it while moving. This has a really short range. Gladius is pretty standard. It's got a long reach. That's about all it does. Cutlass. It's the same. The turfing. Alright, here's a weapon we wanted to use. We tried to use earlier, but our attack was like 0. We're now finally strong enough to be able to use it. It also has immense lag. So that's about all it does. It's pretty much just useless. It is cursed for a reason, so... Scimitar. It doesn't have anything special to it. Alright, the Mablung Sword. So this guy... This is a guy that has the shield rod effects. I don't think it has a special move, though. Nope. But if you press shield... If you press left and right buttons, square and circle together, it'll use the shield rod effect. So right now I have the Alucard shield on. So my shield will do immense damage if I hit an enemy with it. If I hit an enemy with it. Like that. The problem is the shield has to be touching them. Like that. So, that's the Mablung Sword. It's a good weapon. The broadsword. Nothing special. Bekatawa. It's got a pretty fast attack. It's okay. It's not that good. Ice Brand. Go ahead and exit the room. So it shoots out this like icy effect. Gain the ability to use this powerful blast. It's pretty strong. More Medjol. We got this pretty late in the first castle. I don't think it has a special move though. But it's pretty powerful. The Falchion, I think that's a pretty weak weapon. Bastard Sword's pretty strong. Doesn't have any special effects though. The Crissaegrim, we all know what the Crissaegrim can do. Okay, this is an incredibly interesting sword. The Battleair, or I don't even know how to pronounce it. But every hour of gameplay elapses, this sword gains 1 attack point. Up to 99. So if you play 99 hours, this sword has 99 attack power. This doesn't have anything special. The Holy Sword. So I use the Holy Sword for a good deal of the game. Because it's so strong. See what I mean? Ah, so it's got a special move. So let's check it out. So here's a regular attack. Does even more. Wow. So that's a good weapon. Graham. The sword named Graham. I love how it's just called Graham. That'd be like if you had an evil guy and just called him Shaft. So Graham is pretty strong. I don't think it has a special though. Nope. Terminus Est. So I kill everything in one hit anyway, but we'll try to... Does it have a power? No, it's just strong. It's pretty strong. The Dark Blade. I don't think it has a special move. Nope. Alucard Sword, we all know that one. Alucard Sword behaves very similar to the Alucard Sword, but it is unable to do a lot of damage. You can't use the warp attack. So, Sword of Hador. I think this is a pretty strong sword. I think it has a special move. Maybe not. But it's strong. Luminous. A sword forged by elves. This doesn't have a special move. Alright, so those are all the swords. Try the big swords now. Let's see, which ones have we not tried? Let's that's not it. So, fists. Okay, we'll go with fists for now. There are only a few fist items in the game. So the knuckle duster. I'm sure there are more. I just haven't gotten them. They're very short range, but they have high attack speed. And I don't think they have a special move. Nope. The jewel knuckles. Doesn't look like it. So those are the fist weapons I have. Now let's see here. Alright, the clubs. So the clubs do, I think it's called blunt damage. So you've seen the star flail. I use it a lot. Here's the holy rod. I think I've used it a lot too. It has a back attack. So it's super effective against these. But the back attack is press left and right and then attack. Or right and left and attack. Depends on which way you're facing. If you're facing to the right, you press left and right. If you're facing to the left, you press right and left. And that's how it works. So it does more damage and has a bigger hitbox. Starflail, so I use this often. It's basically the same. It has a slightly stronger attack. It also has a back attack. It's hard to tell. So here, I'll show the difference. So here's a regular attack. Watch the flail carefully. It's a back attack. So there's that. The Morning Star. I don't think it has any special abilities. It's just a pretty decent item. Alright, the Moon Rod. I don't know if it has anything special. No, it doesn't. It's just a Moon Rod. Alright, the Shield Rod. Now here we go. So, with the Shield Rod or the Mabling Sword, you are able to use... I've taken the liberty of collecting every single shield in the game. So here they all are. And is that all of them? So I'm missing some... Okay, so I have all the shields in the game. The Shield Rod interacts differently with each shield. So I'm going to demonstrate the Shield Rod with every single shield. You have to press both attack buttons. The rod and the shield button at the same time. That's definitely not what I wanted to do. Let's try this again. Here we go. So what this did is increased our defense. So we have a defensive boost right now. Which is good. Now let's try with a different one. Let's try with the a la carte shield. This is funny. It does nothing. Because the a la carte shield is useless. Now is the night shield. Try the night shield. Alright, we have increased defense. I'll try the Medusa shield. Great, it shoots homing lasers. That's nice. I want the Shaman shield. I'm not sure what that was. But it boosted my intelligence. So it lasts for a while. The Herald shield. I can do it properly. Gosh darn it. There we go. Summons a half-naked woman. Protection from fire and thunder. So elemental resistances. Oh, goddess shield. So I did this before. So I have protection from dark damage. I'll try the fire shield. Okay, I missed, but I'm sure it's powerful. If you can hit. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, it's clearly not hitting. I'll just have to demonstrate it like this. Come on. There we go. There we go. Alright. So it does summons a little fire dragon thing. The skull shield. You notice my mana is really low now. I don't think it'll let me do it until I get enough mana. That's why we have our healing items. So let's go ahead and use one. There's my mana prism. There it is. So it restores all MP. I'll go ahead and use it. So now back to what I had, which is... Where is it? Club. Shield rod. Alright, there we go. So it fires a laser beam. It's kind of hard for me to hit. I don't think I can hit with it. Let's try. Yeah, it just misses it. That's okay. But it's a powerful beam. Just sort this again by shield. Alright. The dark shield. That's pretty powerful. That can kill a lot. So that's nice. Next, the Iron Shield. Now the Iron Shield used to be used a lot for speedrunning the game or tool-assisted speedruns because of this. It summons this thing that shoots out these swords that deal immense damage. And you could buy the Iron Shield from the merchant early. So if you had the shield rod and the Iron Shield, you were doing a lot of damage. So the Axe Lord Shield, that's the last one. I already showed the Alucard Shield. Summons an Axe Armor. If we can actually get to hit without killing this guy. Interesting. I missed. Let's try again. There we go. So it's a limited range, but it's kind of cool. It summons the Axe Lord himself. So, and of course, there's the Alucard Shield. I'll just go ahead and use it just for the sake of using it. Because we all love the Alucard Shield. There we go. So you see it summons upon the power of all the shields. Now I will kill anything. I'm immune to damage. And everything I touch... I get healed by every attack. Everything I touch dies. That's great. So I've shown all... Now I've shown all of the... Have I shown all the weapons? I've shown the shield rod moves. So now let me see what else is there. Bombs, throwing... Two-handed swords. Okay, so we'll try that. Two-handed weapons. So the Red Rust. We got this in the beginning of the game. It's kind of weak. I'll show it off here. It has no special powers. Every now and then it will freeze up. And prevent you from attacking. Like it happened to me earlier. So I can do it. It can happen again. There, see, it froze me. So, it's pretty much the most useless weapon in the whole game. Nunchaku, I've shown this before, earlier. It's a two-part attack. So that's nifty. Takamitsu. It's pretty slow. You can't aim it upwards. So it's kind of a weak weapon. The Claymore. Interesting. Doesn't seem to have a special move though. S-Stock. It moves you forward when you attack. And you're unable to duck an attack with it. Interesting. The Obsidian Sword. This one looks kind of special. We'll try it out. Oh, it's got a special move. Lunge forward. You can actually duck with it too. Great. That's a cool weapon. The Yasutsuna. That looks pretty strong. It's kind of like Crissaegrim. Actually, it's exactly like Crissaegrim. But the Crissaegrim is stronger. Plus, this is two-handed, so that kind of seals the fate on that one. Here's another blade. The Flamberge. Flamberg, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh, it's got a charging move too. I believe the charging move is used to exploit jumps in tool-assisted speedruns. If you watch a tool-assisted speedrun of this game, you may see it. Osafuni Katana. It just sounds powerful. We'll give it a test. Oh, it's strong. Oh, it's got a quick lunge for... Oh, okay, interesting. So, if you do the back attack, which is backwards, forwards attack, it has like a... that effect of a sword we just used recently. Let's see how strong it is. That's not that bad. But if you do down... roll the D-pad from down to forward in attack, it does the Alucard sword warp, but hits once in front. Or twice in front. Interesting. That's an interesting weapon. Okay, so there are all the two-handed swords. Now I'm going to demonstrate all of the throwing stuff. So there are some swords that you can throw out. And these two swords, the Heaven Sword and the Rune Sword, have very interesting interactions. So I'll start with the Rune Sword. If you use the Rune Sword, it has very long range. So let me show it again. It's very strong. It has very long range. You can hit enemies off screen with it. It's cheating. There we go, gotcha. So there's a word that gets spelled out. It's hard to see it. But it says verboten, which is, I think it's German for forbidden. It has no interactions. You can use it while ducking. And it's very nice. One of the interesting things is the Rune Sword. If you equip, I think it's the Moonstone with it. Or no, maybe I think of a different one. I think it's the Moonstone. If you equip the Moonstone with it, I think it actually gives you increased attack. Either that or I'm thinking of the wrong one. I must be thinking of the wrong one. So, next is the Heaven Sword. Now these are interesting. Here's the Heaven Sword. You throw it, it comes back to you. It has no special move at all. However, if you equip two of them and you do a special move, if I can do it. Can I do it? It's hard to do. I gotta press both of them at the same time. There we go. So let's try it. I'll try the see the difference between the irregular attack. So it's pretty strong. Do them together. It's stronger. Hits more times too. So that's nice. That's an interesting weapon. So now I need to demonstrate throw 2. So these are expendable items. If you throw them, they're gone. So I'm going to demonstrate each of them. So here's the flame star. Let me get to the... I'll demonstrate it on an enemy. It's pretty strong. The Waka knife. Relatively strong. The boomerang. And it comes back. TNT. So you can actually throw dynamite. And it does a lot of damage. The shuriken. That's not bad. It looks powerful. They look powerful because I'm equipped with a lot of powerful stuff. Here's the magic missile. I want to cast magic missile. That may... I think this came first before that, but whatever. It looks kind of cheesy, but whatever. It's funny. Iron ball. Well, it certainly lives up to its name. The cross shuriken. Oh wow, it's pretty fast. It's a shuriken, it better be fast. So we had a lot of javelins. I can probably throw a few of these. That's a long range. So that's pretty cool. So now I've got the monster vial. I think there were a few of these, but I only have one of them, so I'll just go ahead and use that. Summons a skeleton ally. Huh. That's cool. The fire boomerang. Oh, we got a ring of Varda. Wow. So that makes 3 rings of Varda I have now. Too bad I can't actually equip it, though. The buffalo star. This is probably like the strongest. It sounds the strongest. Let's try it. It's pretty strong. It's not too strong, but so there's that. All right, now I need throw. I already did throw 1. Throw 2. Bombs. All right, so now I get to demonstrate all these bombs. The neutron bomb. Try that out. Oh wow. That is a lot of damage. Hits a big area too. Here's the pentagram. Oh, it certainly lives up to its name. The Power of Sire. This is a very valuable weapon. It's supposed to kill all enemies on screen instantly, I believe. I can see why it would. So there's the Power of Sire. It's actually a picture, I think it's of Vlad tapes on there. Okay, the Karma Coin. This is an interesting item. It doesn't really... It does 2 things. Tails. Lightning strikes the coin. If you get heads... If you get tails, lightning will strike the coin only. If you get heads, if I can ever get it. Please tell me I'll get it. Well, it does damage. It does lots of damage. Please be heads. There we go. Basically performs Soul Steal. Albeit a weaker version of it, but still. So that's nifty. the bat pentagram. I think this is a stronger version of the pentagram. Yeah. That's a lot of damage. I think that's everything. I think that's every single kind of weapon, at least type of weapon in this game. Types of medicine. I think that's it. That's everything. So there's all the types of weapons. The shield rod, using all the shields. This game is just full of all kinds of good stuff. So let me go ahead and quickly equip my good stuff. Crissaegrim. Card shield. I think that's it. So we're now decked out, we're ready to roll. And we're gonna go kill Dracula. First we gotta get there, so I should have enough for the best ending, but just in case, I'm gonna save right before it. I'm almost positive I have enough. You have to get 196% map coverage to do it. Zoom through this if I can. My voice is getting a little tired. I'm not used to talking this much. So let's see. How do I feel about this Let's Play? I'm pretty satisfied with what I did. I think for live commentary in my first Let's Play, I did a pretty good job. But maybe I don't know. I don't know best. So we'll get back this way. Fly. Thank you. Ouch. 146 damage. Spikes will kill you. That will kill me too. Too bad I avoided it. You can also angle the bat. It's a little inconvenient to do so. There's also a way to make the bat fly, like, forever, even though I haven't really figured it out. Fly, bat. I don't want to fly. Here we go. Kill this guy. So I'm doing a lot of damage. I'm gonna basically kill Dracula instantly. It's not even gonna be a joke. No, I'll save separately. So here we go. We're gonna get the best ending in the game. Because we have enough map percentage. One thing I forgot to mention is that if you beat the game, you're also able to skip the "Die, monster. You don't belong in this world." The cutscene. You can just press start to fast forward it. One of the conditions to changing Alucard's stats is if you beat Dracula in less than a minute, you get something special. But the thing is, make sure I get out that map tile. Okay, good. The thing is, if you have to stop at this, and the "Die, monster" speech counts as part of that minute. So unless you are extremely good and fast at beating Dracula, you just won't get it. So I need to double check and make sure I'm fine. We're gonna dual wield Crissaegrims. We're gonna murder these guys. Also notice the Heaven's Sword looks exactly the same as the Crissaegrim. That's gonna be a little confusing. There you are. Alright, so we now have our Lawnmower Alucard. And we're gonna go kill Shaft. We're gonna skip through though. I'm gonna make this quick. And he's beaten. So that's Shaft. And now we're going to go beat Dracula. We can skip his thing too. Let's see how fast we can beat him. With our dual Crissaegrims. And he's dead. I have broken the game. So we'll skip this cutscene. Now we'll get to see the true ending to Symphony of the Night, which is not much different. And there goes Dracula's castle.
So you made it.
Alucard, I'm glad you're all right.
I'm sorry. 'Tis my fault you had to fight your own father.
Fear not. I had my own reasons for destroying him.
It must have been painful for you.
Indeed. But you must always remember that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
I understand.
Alucard, what will you do now?
The blood that flows in my veins is cursed. 'Twould be best for this world if I were to disappear forever.
I see.
Farewell, then. We'll not meet again.
Alucard,
Don't you want to go after him, Maria?
I'm sorry. I can't let him disappear from my life.
It's all right. Go after him. Perhaps you can save his haunted soul.
Thank you, Richter. Fare thee well.
And yourself, dear lady.
Alright, so there's the best ending in the game. You have to have 196% of both castles uncovered. Each of them counts as 100%. You can get a little bit more than 100% in some of them, and there are ways to break the game. Just gonna let the credits roll for a while. But there are ways to break the game and skip into areas you're not supposed to go to get. I think you can get up to, what is it, like 400% map coverage or something ridiculous like that. But I'm going to skip over the credits and then show the end screen. I can't seem to skip this cutscene no matter what button I push. So, we'll just let the credits roll for a while.
Just like the wind, I've always been drifting high up in the sky that never ends. Perfect and clear, I always win. 'Cause I fight both heaven and save a friend. I face my destiny every day I live, and the best of me is all I have to give. Just like the sun, when my day's done. Sometimes I don't like the person I've become. Is the enemy within 1,000 men? Should I walk the path so bad I have? Is someone test me every day I live? Well, the best of me is all I have to give. I can't pretend I am the thing, and I don't know if I will pass this way again. All things must stand, but I'm unafraid. Think of me when you see the sun or feel the wind.
Alright, so there we go. I have beaten Castlevania Symphony of the Night with the best ending in the game. And we're going to see what percentage I had. It has to be 196% or higher. So let's see. I got 198.8%. That's pretty good. There are probably a few secret rooms that I missed. Probably like 4 or 5 that I missed in both castles. But I think 198%, almost 199% is pretty good. For not really looking at a guide that much at all. And not while I'm playing. So that's Castlevania Symphony of the Night. If you listen to me ramble for this, I recorded for about 2 hours straight, so I'm pretty exhausted. It is kind of exhausting to do this. So if you sat through it all, thank you very much. If you just skipped to where I got the best ending, all good, no problem. If you just watched me use all the items, that's fine. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos, and I hope that they were interesting and exciting enough to merit watching them, because I had a lot of fun making this Let's Play, and I already talked all about this last time, but I'll say it again. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see if I do more Let's Plays in the future. I don't know if I'm going to do them immediately, soon, but if I do, I definitely want to continue doing it because I enjoyed Let's Playing a lot. So thank you very much for watching. This is KO12, and this concludes my Let's Play of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Let's play time's over. Grant me power.
No, this cannot be. Whoa!